We have some extremely exciting news today. Soon we will no longer have to be clowns. Final Fantasy XVI is just around the corner, and this game is likely coming much sooner than many originally anticipated. And trust me, you are going to want to hit that subscribe button because we report on everything Final Fantasy XVI, from the biggest thing to the smallest thing. Just recently, Naoki Yoshida was on a Nier Reincarnation stream to talk about the collaborative event between Nier Reincarnation and Final Fantasy XIV, during which Yoshi P decided to give us a little unexpected Final Fantasy XVI update. And much like the recent update from Uniqlo, it is some pretty good news regarding the game's development and just how soon we'll be getting our next information update. A huge thank you as always to Audrey at Aitai Kimochi for translating all of this for us, with him saying that the trailer is done. Certain factors caused the announcement to be delayed, but it should drop soon. So everyone's kind of been wondering where the trailer is, but the trailer is already complete. Who knows whatever those certain factors were, but the trailer is coming soon. So some people had joked that the spring announcement was vanishing or that it wasn't going to happen. This is him reaffirming that the spring update is still going to happen. Whatever those factors were, they are out of the way now, and we should be seeing the game soon, maybe at Summer Games Fest. The dev team spent a long time polishing and debugging the game. This is really nice to hear. I don't know how many people recall when Final Fantasy XV first launched, the game had a number of bugs, and it took a long period of time for them to squash all of them. Those first few weeks during the game's release, you could see some incredibly weird stuff, and that's because of how fast they shoved the finished product out of the door. However, they were eventually able to get a very stable game from patches over the next few months. It's good to know that Final Fantasy XVI has spent a lot of time with polishing and debugging, knowing that we will have a smooth experience from day one, which isn't always guaranteed. Looking at you, Cyberpunk. And most importantly, the game is pretty much complete, meaning all of you who've made jokes about this game coming out in 10 years, for one, need to download the critically acclaimed MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV and see just how wrong you are, and could potentially mean that we could see this game as early as Q4 2022. That's right, this year maybe. Although I wouldn't be surprised if they take all the way to the first quarter of 2023, as they do have to have some time to market this game. Now, it's worth noting that the debugging and polishing is still going on and not finished, and Yoshi P expects they'll want to take their time and polish the game further. It's pretty much a finished game already in terms of content, but what's happening right now is that they are doing all types of refinements to the game to make sure that it plays the best that it possibly can. Yoshi P mentions that he spent Golden Week working on some urgent stuff for Final Fantasy XIV and also made adjustments to the marketing plan for Final Fantasy XVI. He said that the FF16 dev team is working their hardest on the game. Yosuke Saito, series producer for Nier, also had this to say: "You guys truly made something special with Final Fantasy XVI. Yoshida, we're still working on it though." God damn it, Saito-san, I can't believe I am talking about Final Fantasy XVI here. I can't answer properly. Saito: "Nah, I know where to draw the line. I know what I can ask." And with that, Square Enix is probably going to kick me out. Yoshida: "Man, they're probably going to be really mad at me again." So at the very least, Saito seems to think that Final Fantasy XVI is something really good. I'm happy to hear it, and I believe he is telling the truth. I think what astonishes me the most about Final Fantasy XVI is that this is the first game since Final Fantasy X where we've had a completely smooth development cycle. Aside from the game facing a 6-month delay due to the pandemic, the game hasn't had the same major issues that FF games have had for over the past 20 years. Switching directors, switching teams, switching engines, or in the case of Final Fantasy XIV 1.0, having to have the entire game scrapped and remade as a Realm Reborn. This game was announced about 18 months ago, plus or minus. And now it's basically done. We've never had that. We've never had the game just be done. Like, there's nothing crazy happening. We're not dragging this out. We're not announcing the game too early, then releasing multiple trailers over the course of several years. They're just actually going to release a game that's a finished product to whenever it's done, and then we play it, and that's it. This is what I've longed for Square to do for so long. Square Enix's Creative Business Unit 3 has proven time and time again they're one of the most trustworthy studios in the entire game industry. And be being led by a man like Naoki Yoshida who really knows what he's doing and is actually competent at his job, in a way in which most people only would ever dream of. I think they're going to deliver something truly special. In fact, if I were to make like a big brain prediction, I feel like Final Fantasy XVI is going to be the most complete feeling Final Fantasy that we've had in a long time. Like, I think in terms of like main story content and side content, it's going to be one of the most dense Final Fantasy games that we've had in a long time. Because lesser known fact, this game has been in development for almost 6 years now, as it started immediately after Final Fantasy XV's development wrapped up. So I think we have a lot to look forward to. Shout out to patron Paul Newhouse and the rest of the Ultima community.